banned? 0. And that was turned over in a federal court of law. So that's probably how the pistol brace thing's going to work out. But they're going to work it for every dollar they can. And they're going to arrest every single law-abiding citizen they can until that reaches the Supreme Court and gets overturned as unconstitutional. But until then, they're going to waste your tax-paying money to try to push this on us and try to turn every law-abiding citizen they can into a felon. Could you imagine that? 40 million law-abiding citizens, which I'm sure at least a good portion of them are good people, working good jobs and helping other people, becoming felons overnight. How devastating that would be to the morale of the country, let alone our economy. That's something to work. That would be something to worry about. That would be a pandemic. Or I'm sorry, that would be an epidemic, right? Not gun violence, but the assault on your civil liberties. That's the epidemic we're facing here, okay? There are some things that I want to get to, kind of housekeeping things, if you will. Just some boring things. As of right now, David Chipman has not been voted to be head of the ATF. They keep pushing it back. This will be the second week in a row that they push it back. There is a lot of skepticism on why this is happening. One of them is Dave Chipman lost a duty weapon of some sort, and they still don't know where that duty weapon is. Probably got lost during, Project Fast and Furious, where they gave criminals knowingly under the Obama administration to run weapons to Mexico, which ended back up in America, which we know because they were tracking them, and those weapons were used to commit crimes against the American citizens. That's the kind of thing that the ATF does. That's the kind of thing that David Chipman was involved in. And to be quite frank, that's one of the lesser evil things that he was a part of. He was also there at Waco, where American citizens were burned alive, including children. He then lied about it under oath. There are pictures of David Chipman at Waco, standing on the remains of American citizens that were burned alive. Is that the type of person you want ahead of any kind of agency, let alone one that's responsible for turning you into felons overnight? Because that's what's going to happen. As many comments as we leave about the receiver, frame and receiver definition being changed and the pistol brace thing being changed, and I do think you should do that. You should go to the ATF's website and you should leave a comment on both of those things, because those will both drastically change the way the firearm community is able to protect itself. But I don't know if that's going to be enough, because we've already had some of these things open for comments before. The pistol braces being one of them. It was opened up. They tried to rush it through on a holiday weekend, hoping no one noticed, only leaving it up for something like 30 days instead of the 90 days that they're supposed to do by law. And even in that short amount of time that it was up, it reached 70,000 comments. Not only did it reach 70,000 comments in something like 4 days, you had congressmen writing in saying this is going to do nothing but turn law-abiding citizens into felons. And the DOJ made them knock it off. But now we have President Biden in office. I just don't see the DOJ stepping in like they did the last time. Well, we've had the comments open for a little over a week now on the pistol brace thing, and we're over 100,000 comments, which should be way more, in my opinion. With there being 40 million of these things out on the market, there should be at least half of that on the comments, letting them know that this is just a gross infringement on their rights, and that the ATF is not there to write laws. They are not the gatekeepers of who is felons and who is not. That's not their job in the judicial system. Quite frankly, they haven't done what their job was intended to do for a very long time. There is a Congress lady that has written a bill to abolish the ATF, and I let it be known that I do know that this bill exists, but don't expect it to go anywhere. And even if it did, okay, let's say the ATF gets abolished. Do you think they're just going to get rid of all that information? Do you think they're just going to throw away the illegal registry they own of NFA items and the people who own them and where they're stored? That's not going to happen. Then what's going to happen is the ATF is going to pick the ball up and they're going to run with it. And that's a perfect segue. Let me tell you why the ATF being in charge of the NFA and some of the things that the ATF is tasked with is a bad idea. Right now, you have Democrat and Republican congressmen saying, we need to investigate January 6th. Well, why, if that was the worst thing to happen in America's history, which is bullshit, they're forgetting 9/11, the Civil War, the list goes on. But let's say that is the worst thing that has ever happened, January 6th insurrection. Do you know why, even though congressmen are pushing for this to be investigated, that it's not being investigated? Because the FBI knew about this. There were FBI informants and agents at the Capitol that day. Everybody has seen video of almost no one stopping them entering the Capitol building. Under any other circumstance, if a crowd of people tried to bum rush into the Capitol building or the White House, you would have seen a massacre. Security was down for a reason, right? They were let into the Capitol for a reason. So now they have something to oppose our call for law and order, right? We can't say we need justice for the BLM protests and riots, and then we turn around and do it to the Capitol. I'm not saying I agree with what happened at the Capitol, because I certainly don't. But I would like to know the agent's name who shot Ashley Babbitt. If any other officer would have killed anybody at a BLM protest, their face would be spread all over all the major news networks. Well, why don't we know his name? I can't say for certainty, but I have heard, allegedly, that it was an African-American agent that shot Ashley Babbitt. I don't necessarily know if I believe that. I have seen the footage. I don't recall seeing any African-American FBI agents in the proximity of where she was and where she's been shot. That could just be a bunch of, far right conspiracy bullshit. But either way, we should still know that agent's name. There should still be an investigation. If a crackhead can attack a police officer and then that police officer be held accountable, then so should the one at the Capitol. With that said, if you play stupid games, you're going to get stupid prizes. I don't necessarily feel bad for anybody or anything that happened at the Capitol. You can't break the law and expect nothing to happen. Unless beforehand you say, hey, 10 o'clock tomorrow we're going to hold a BLM protest. Then maybe you can break the law and get away with it. As we're seeing across the country, in Chicago, Portland, the people that have been caught are being let go. There are no bonds, right? Even the ones that are being taken into custody get right back out. All charges are being dropped. And they're saying that the crime is rising because of access to guns. Well, it's not access to legal guns, I can tell you that. And it isn't law-abiding, gun-owning citizens, I can tell you that. So I don't believe more gun control is going to stop that. The fact of the matter is, if you want to go